Good evening, and thank you for joining me for another open mic on a Thursday evening. Looks like we already got someone in chat. Vanquish, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me tonight. Hello. So, tonight is going to be solo. No guest tonight. This has to be the first time going solo again since my very first open mic. Almost about a month and a half ago. Looks like or maybe a little less than that. But yeah, so probably going to be a little bit shorter tonight. Probably won't go 2 hours. Heck, I'd be surprised if I go for 1 hour tonight. It's been kind of a long week at work, and I'm pretty tired. So, but maybe I'll catch a second wind, and we'll end up going 2.5 hours. Who knows? But I don't really have a whole lot lined up to talk about tonight. So we'll see if stuff comes up and makes it run longer than I expect. But the main thing I wanted to cover tonight is basically part 2 of what I was talking about on my first open mic, which was also my first solo stream, where I was going through basically all the consoles I had growing up and what my favorite games were on each console. So we got up to the Wii / Xbox / PC era. That's when I was also playing PC games more than anything. So I just built a pretty beefy PC in, I think it was my freshman year of high school. So I was playing mostly PC, but I did have a Wii, and I didn't actually have an Xbox until very late in the Xbox life cycle. It was pretty closer to the launch of the 360, just because basically the only thing I played was Halo 1, and all my buddies had Xboxes, so I didn't really need my own because there was an Xbox everywhere we went. So that's kind of where we left off. So kind of basically since then, the only thing I've had were Xboxes. So basically go through the Xbox life cycle since its inception, essentially, and go over the games for each of the Xboxes that were my favorite. And then I may touch on some of the answers to some of the party chat topics we've had that I maybe didn't have enough time to go into during party chat. So maybe I'll kind of delve deeper into some of those a little bit. So, starting off with the original Xbox, which launched, I think it was November of 2001, with arguably one of the greatest launch titles of all time, the original Halo. I had heard a lot about Halo, but I didn't know anything about it. All I heard was the name until one of my buddies, who, if you remember in some of my previous streams, he was, I was the Nintendo kid. I was a Nintendo kid growing up, and he was a Sega kid, so I'd play Genesis games over his place, and he'd play Super Nintendo games over my place. But he got an original Xbox and Halo, so once he got that, I went over and played Halo for the first time over at his house, and I was instantly hooked. And then all of my other buddies at school got Xboxes, and specifically Halo 1, and we played the bejesus out of it. It was basically half of my soccer team in high school. We were all hanging out at each other's houses all the time, playing probably eight person LAN party Halo all the time. So we got really good. I was really, really good even without having my own Xbox. Out of our group I was probably in the middle, skill wise, but compared to like most other players, I was significantly better than a lot of people that you come across. And I think I might have mentioned it previously, but before, this was on original Xbox, before Xbox Live existed, because the thing that really put Xbox Live in the map was Halo 2. But before Xbox Live existed, we had a program called Xbox Connect that tricked your Xbox into thinking it was on a LAN with other Xboxes that were actually, connected to over the internet. So we were able to use the internet to play Halo 1 online with people all over the place. So that was a lot of fun, and did pretty good on that too. So we went to a couple of tournaments, and I did decent as well. But like I mentioned, probably on the first open mic, the big one that we went to was on the Halo 2 launch night. They did the Game Crazy, I think is where we went. Which, if you aren't familiar with Game Crazy, it was basically the video game section inside of a Hollywood video, and they were hosting a Halo 1 tournament. And I did pretty good, but I didn't win. The best guy in our group, he's the one that won the whole tournament. But yeah, so I loved Halo 1, played the heck out of it. I think on Party Chat, when we were talking about our most beaten games, it wasn't one of the ones that I listed, but someone else, I think the guest on Party Chat that week, mentioned Halo 1. I was like, oh yeah, that's probably one of the games that I've beaten more times than any other game. So yeah, Halo 1 was probably my favorite game on the original Xbox for a long time. Halo 2, played that, like it, but me and all my buddies, we liked Halo 1 a lot better than we liked Halo 2. Especially, well, it didn't have to do with the fact that it was significantly harder, at least on Legendary, because on Legendary in Halo 2 is basically like having the Iron Skull on in any of the other Halos, where when you die, even in co-op, you automatically go back to the previous checkpoint, where in all the other Halos on Legendary, one person can die, and if the other person completes the fight, then the other person will revive. But in Halo 2, nope. If someone died, then you both immediately restart the checkpoint, which was really dumb. And then there was this one level, I don't remember which level it was, 3 or 4, where there's the jackals with snipers literally everywhere, and they can kill you in one hit, no matter where they hit you. It can hit you in the toe, and one hit and you're dead, which was really dumb. I remember playing through that level again on Legendary on the Master Chief Collection, and it was not fun. But yeah, that wasn't the reason why we didn't like Halo 2, was because of the difficulty. It was more of just because I think they built Halo 2 on a different engine than Halo 1, because it just felt a lot different, and we weren't big fans of it. But still a good game. And probably my biggest complaint with Halo 2 is how, there wasn't an ending, because they got cut short due to, the development didn't get to finish what they wanted to. And so they're like, no, you need to have this game out by, holiday of, I think it was 2004. I'd have to double check on that. So they didn't get to finish development on what they wanted to, and so they just cut the game off, and there was no real ending. That was a bit of a disappointment. What are you doing? What was the last line? It's like, finishing this fight, and then it just ended. It's like, well, you didn't finish the fight, until Halo 3 came along. But hey, Vanquish is saying he never got into Halo when it first came out. It was about 2 years ago when I finally really got into it. Okay, cool. So a bit later into the Halo hype train. Did you play the original, or did you play the anniversary, which was the 360 version? Or if you got into it that late, I'm assuming you probably played the Master Chief Collection, which would make the most sense. And definitely one of the greatest gaming deals in existence. All the Halo games, except for Halo 5, and not Halo Wars, because those aren't mainline games, but all of the mainline Halo games, all in one bundle, except for Halo 5. You can usually get it for super cheap, and it's on Game Pass, of course. So if you are at all interested in Halo, I definitely recommend it. When it's on sale, you can get it for nothing. Yeah, so Halo 1, Halo 2. Yeah, you know what? On the original Xbox, there weren't really that many games that I think I even played. Probably the amount of actual different games I played on Xbox, because I did play a lot of games that were also on Xbox, but I played them on PC, like now I'm getting mixed up with the new Star Wars games. I almost said Fallen Order. No, Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, which are still, to this day, two of my top favorite games of all time. Those were on Xbox, but I played them on PC. The early Splinter Cell games were on Xbox, but I played those on PC. So the amount of actual games I played on an original Xbox, there's very few. Probably less than 10 that I've actually played on the original, and probably I think I only have like 5 original Xbox games, and like at least 2 of them I can't even play because they're not backwards compatible on the 360, and I don't have my original Xbox anymore. So there's not a whole lot of games that I ever even played on the original Xbox, but the ones that I did play were like great. Another one, KOTOR 19 Republic. That I'm pretty sure that was on original Xbox, but I played that on PC as well. But yeah, so the games that I played on Xbox that I loved the heck out of it: Halo 1, Halo 2, not as much Halo 1 as I just talked about. But one of my favorite games of all time was on the original Xbox. I will wait on that one for just a moment until I get to that one. But another couple, the 2 that I just mentioned that are not backwards compatible. So I have the discs, but I have no actual way of playing them anymore. Unless I was to go back and find an original Xbox or emulate it, was the Matrix Path of Neo. Me, nerdy Neo Matrix. Of course, I'm going to be playing the Matrix games. I did play Enter the Matrix as well, which was okay. Path of Neo was definitely far better because you actually played as Neo. And it's kind of funny because I haven't played it in probably 15 years because I like I said, I don't have any way to play it anymore. So I'm just going off vague memory of when I played it when it was new. But I remember because the way that you basically play through the entire trilogy as Neo, but the way that the movie ends doesn't make for a very good ending to a video game. So when you get to the end of the game, it like cuts in with the Wachowskis. I never remember whether it's a ch or a k in their name. Wachowskis. I think it's Wachowskis with a C. Well, I mean, I know it's spelled with a CH, but I'm pretty sure it's Wachowskis. But it cuts in with them as like these. I think they're like these like 8-bit blocky people that look like they came from an NES game, and they're basically go into how the ending of the movie doesn't make for a good ending of a video game. So they're like, we're going to throw in this boss to actually make it feel like a fitting end for the video game. And so you end up fighting this gigantic Agent Smith that's made out of like building rubble and stuff, and he even picks up glasses, I think from a billboard, and puts it on. And so you're fighting this gigantic Smith. Hey, yeah, Vanquish played it. Path of Neo was awesome, way better than Enter the Matrix. Yes, I had both when they first came out. Yeah, I played Enter the Matrix on PC, but I had Path of Neo on Xbox. I just froze on my end. Hopefully I didn't freeze on your end. Oh, just came back. Okay. Yeah, that was a good game. So that was another one on original Xbox that I loved, and I still have it. But yeah, can't play it. And the other one that I also have that I can't play, and I guess you could. It's kind of funny because I didn't even realize it till I was just talking about it. That Path of Neo and the one I'm about to mention are both you could put on the list of good good movie video games, because movie video games have a penchant for being terrible. Have a really bad reputation as being terrible games. But the Path of Neo, you could consider that a movie game since you're playing through the events of the Matrix trilogy as Neo, even though some of the stuff that they made up doesn't actually happen in the movies, but they added in to make the video game better. But I would consider it a movie game. But then the other one I'm about to mention was also a movie game and was also really good, was the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith Episode 3 game. Was really good. And that's another one that I have a disc, but I have no means of playing it because it's not backwards compatible. So the only way to play it is on original Xbox or emulate it. So I haven't played it in a very long time, but I remember that being pretty good. And one of the cool things about it is the multiplayer mode in it was basically a Star Wars fighting game. And I hate fighting games. I'm terrible at them. But I really love playing this mode, and you don't have to play it in multiplayer. You can play it against bots. But it was basically Um, because there's one other Star Wars fighting game that was on the original PlayStation that I played over a friend's house that I liked, but it's regarded as a terrible, awful game. Was Star Wars Masters of Terras Kasi. I remember playing that over a friend's house and getting to, I think Darth Vader was the boss of like the campaign mode, and I remember trying to beat him for like hours and I never could do it. But I enjoyed playing that game, but it's well regarded as a terrible game. But I didn't really play it more than like one or two times over a friend's house, so I don't really know the details of why it's so poorly regarded. But that was kind of like a Tekken style because it's 3D, so you can move towards and away from the camera and kind of go around each other, um, rather than it being on a 2D plane. So the multiplayer in Star Wars Episode 3 is on a 2D plane, so you can't go behind or in front of people. But it was basically like a fighting game with lightsabers. And I don't think there's ever been any other game in the Star Wars universe that plays like that. So that was pretty cool. But it was before Xbox Live, so it was local only. So if you didn't have a person to play against, you had to play against the bots. But that was actually pretty fun. And I remember that the character that I liked playing the best, and I was pretty good with him, was Sin Dralig. He's got silver hair, and he is actually in Revenge of the Sith. You only see him for like a second or two. And the character in the game didn't quite look like the character did in the movie, but I believe he was the Jedi sword master or battle master or something. He was like the top tier of the Jedi when it came to lightsaber dueling, and he was pretty awesome. And oh yeah, so this is I was not going to talk about this tonight, but since you mention it, if you want to talk about good movie video games, what Vanquish just mentioned in chat here is Path of Neo is on the same level as X-Men Origins Wolverine. That movie is terrible. The game is awesome. Freaking sweet. If you haven't played X-Men Origins Wolverine, it was a 360 game, not an original Xbox game, but it is awesome and bloody, and it's nuts. Both great because they did their own separate thing for the movies. Yeah, I don't remember much of that game actually taking place in what happened in the movie, but that was a really awesome game. And when you take damage, you'll see holes open up in Logan's body, and then you'll see it heal itself. It was really cool. In the first level, because I think it opens up during the Vietnam War, and he like his Huey helicopter comes up. He like jumps I think it's coming up over a ridge or something. He jumps, claws, and he goes through the windshield, with his claws into the helicopter pilot, rips him out of the cockpit seat and shoves him up into the helicopter blade, and it tears him to shreds. So it's a very bloody, brutal game, but that game was an awesome hack and slash. So definitely, X-Men Origins Wolverine is up there for best movie games, definitely. So, but yeah, original Xbox games, the Halo games, Revenge of the Sith. What else did I just talk about? Path of Neo. The original Splinter Cell, I played it on Xbox over at a friend's house, but I played through the original Splinter Cell trilogy on PC. But that's a fantastic game. This whole Splinter Cell franchise is great. There are obviously some that are better than others, but the original trilogy was all on the original Xbox. I really need to go back and play the original trilogy again because it's been so long. But I do agree with the sentiment of pretty much everyone that's a fan of the franchise that Chaos Theory is the best of the original trilogy. But yeah, I didn't play those on Xbox, so those weren't. Though I love the Splinter Cell games, but they're not my favorite on Xbox because they are better on PC. Similar to a lot of the Star Wars games like Old Republic, not the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic. Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy. I played those all on PC, much better on PC than on Xbox. But if you don't have the option to play it on PC, but now those games came out 20 years ago, they should be able to play on pretty much anything nowadays. So it's not like you need a beefy computer to play them. So I would recommend playing them on PC, but if for some reason you don't have the option, play it on an original Xbox, I guess. But the one I was holding off for, still to this day, one of my favorite games of all time. And you've watched any of my streams before, you'll probably know what I'm about to say. And definitely, hands down, my favorite original Xbox game of all time was Ninja Gaiden Black. Although it was originally, there's two different versions. It was originally just Ninja Gaiden, and then they added, because it was right at the that game came out right around the time that Xbox Live was becoming a thing, before Halo 2 was out. Because Halo 2 was really a thing that kind of put Xbox Live on the map. But I'm pretty sure this was before Halo 2 really popularized Xbox Live. Like, there's this new service that developers didn't really even know what to do with, other than online multiplayer stuff. So Team Ninja, they were probably arguably the first console game developer to release DLC, really. Although it wasn't paid, it was free, but you had to have Xbox Live, and not many people had Xbox Live. Not many people even had broadband internet at that time. So they released free DLC, which was basically like mission mode for Ninja Gaiden, and they added some new skins and stuff. But because no one had it at the time, they repackaged it on disc in Ninja Gaiden Black. So that came with all that DLC on the disc. So if you didn't have Xbox Live, you could still get all that content. So throat is scratchy. But yeah, that is, so how it happened is, how I became such a fan of Ninja Gaiden is like I said, I didn't get an original Xbox till very late in the original Xbox's lifespan. One of the group of guys that I played Halo with, one of the guys was selling his original Xbox, and so he's like, "Hey, do you want to buy my Xbox?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll buy it, so I can have one myself." He was going to give me Halo, and probably Halo 2 if it was out by that time. I don't remember. But he also gave me Ninja Gaiden, the original one, not Ninja Gaiden Black. And so I started playing it. I'm like, "Oh, what's this game?" I like ninjas. I've always liked ninjas. Ninjas are awesome. So I checked out the game, and I instantly got hooked on it. But man, it was freaking hard. It's still arguably one of the hardest games of all time, at least of the modern era. I know the original Ninja Gaiden games on NES have a reputation for being incredibly difficult, which they are. I've never actually played the original Ninja Gaidens, although you can unlock them within Ninja Gaiden Black in an arcade cabinet and play them in their original form. I never bothered with that, though. But in modern gaming, the Ninja Gaiden games are arguably the hardest games still, like, ever. And they came out, Ninja Gaiden Black came out in like 2004. And that was one of the other things is the original Xbox release of Ninja Gaiden only had like normal, hard, and very hard. And yeah, it was those three difficulties. Because normal was too difficult for a lot of people. I mean, when I was learning to play it, the first boss of the game, I spent hours on. And if you, I've often seen the first boss, which is Mirai. I've often seen him on lists of like hardest first bosses in games. He's like on every time that someone does a list video on that, Mirai's always on that list. And I remember spending hours on him, beating him on normal. And because people were complaining about the difficulty, when they re-released it in Ninja Gaiden Black, they added 2 additional difficulty modes. They added Ninja Dog, which is the super easy mode, which it doesn't even show up on the menu. If you die 3 times on the same checkpoint on normal mode, it'll pop up and say, "Hey, do you want to lower the difficulty?" And if you do, you get this big pink ribbon on your wrist basically as a mark of shame. But then it gets easier for those people who couldn't step up to the challenge. And they added Master Ninja difficulty, which I don't think, I'd have to double check, but I don't think the developers were even able to beat it on Master Ninja. And they were, before the Ninja Gaiden Black came out, they were predicting that less than 1,000 people would even be able to beat Master Ninja. They grossly underestimated, the gaming community, and I'm sure that there's been a lot more than that now. But I was like, I'm gonna be one of those 1,000 people. But you can't just go straight to it. You have to unlock each difficulty. So you have to play on normal to unlock hard, beat hard to unlock very hard, beat very hard to unlock Master Ninja. I unlocked Master Ninja. I beat very hard, and that's one of my proudest gaming moments because that was insanely difficult. I stepped it up to Master Ninja. I played for hours, and I never even got to the first save point in the first level because it's so difficult. It probably gets a little bit easier actually after you get into it a little bit because at the beginning of the game, your health bar is ridiculously short. And one of the cool things about Ninja Gaiden that not a lot of other games, or any really for that matter, do is when you increase the difficulty, it doesn't just make the enemies like stronger, like increase their hit points or increase the damage they deal or reduce your hit points and increase the amount of damage you take. It doesn't do that. It actually swaps out the enemies that you face. So you may when you're playing on hard, you may run into enemies that you never even seen on normal. And same with very hard, you may run into enemies you never even see on hard. And same thing on Master Ninja, you may run into enemies on Master Ninja that you never even saw on very hard. Or they may be the same enemies, but because most enemies have like different ranks. So like a basic ninja will come in like different colored garb, and the colors represent like what tier level they are. So you may fight the same enemy, but they may be a higher tier of that or version of that enemy, or you may fight them much earlier in the game than you normally would. So on Master Ninja, the first two enemies you fight are the red ninjas, which means when their swords connect with you and do damage, you take fire damage, which does a little bit of damage over time. And your health bar is like this tiny. So it only takes like 2 or 3 hits to kill you. And I remember I got to the, after, fighting through Master Ninja, I did get to the room with the first save point because the save points restore your health. But you have to beat that room of enemies before the save point becomes active. And I died in that room, and that's where I gave up. So I could see the save point, but I never even got to use it. So, Spirit of Liberty, what's up, man? You hopped in here. I saw you say something a moment ago, but I was kind of on a tangent there. So, Ninja Gaiden on Xbox made me so mad. I broke a controller with my bare hands, twisted it nearly in half. Yeah, it is probably one of the games I've raged at more than any other game in my life. But I also love it more than almost any other game. It's funny how it has that the ability to make you love it and hate it at the same time. Ninja Gaiden 2, I think, was considered a little bit easier. I still need to go back because one of the cool things was on Ninja Gaiden 2. Similarly, you could only start on normal and then beat it on normal to unlock hard. But if you had a completed game save of beating it, Ninja Gaiden Black on normal, when you booted up Ninja Gaiden 2, you automatically had hard unlocked, so you could go straight to hard and skip normal. So I did that, but I still need to go back to Ninja Gaiden 2 and play through on Mentor, which is Ninja Gaiden 2's version of very hard. It also has Master Ninja as well, but I know I'm never going to bother with that. But I do at some point need to. It'll probably be very rage-inducing, but I've always said that someday I'm going to go back and I'm going to beat Ninja Gaiden 2 on Mentor because I have most. I only have like, I think I only have like 4 or 5 achievements left in Ninja Gaiden 2, and that's for Mentor and Master Ninja, and I think beating all the challenges on Mentor and Master Ninja, which I don't think I'll ever do that. But yeah, so Ninja Gaiden Black is still one of my favorite games of all time, and that pretty much wraps up my favorite games on the original Xbox. So, man, half hour just talk about 5 games on the original Xbox. So let me pull up my game library here, because basically since the original Xbox, everything I played is on Xbox, so I can see all my achievements and stuff. Obviously, the original Xbox didn't have achievements, but there weren't that many games that I played on. Oh, one other game that I didn't own, but we did play a decent amount of, or the demo really, and it was a lot of fun. It was a party game. Was Fusion Frenzy was a really fun party game on Xbox. It was basically Xbox's version of Mario Party. The reason why we even knew what it was is because on the original Halo 1 disc, you could go on the main menu down to the bottom. There was game demos, and it had you could sort through this list of game demos. They were pretty much all just videos, like trailers, essentially, because this was before YouTube existed. But there was one for Fusion Frenzy, which actually was playable, and there were three different game modes you could play on the demo. And we just, sometimes we get bored of playing Halo, and we would go into the demo, and we would just play those 3 mini games over and over again. Fusion Frenzy, and the one that I liked the best because I was really good at it and I almost always won was called Twisted System. And it's up to 4 people, and you're basically on this spinning thing, and it was basically last man standing. And so all you did was push A to jump or X to crouch, and because this thing is spinning, so stuff comes down at you, and it's if there's things across the bottom, you jump over it, and if there's a bar, then you have to duck under it. So and the longer you go, the faster it gets. And I was really good at that one, so we played that a lot, and I enjoyed that mini game because I usually won. I think I did end up actually playing the full version, and we played. I don't know if it wasn't me that got it, but someone brought over the full version. We played it. There are a bunch of other mini games in that game that were a lot of fun as well. But Twisted System was my favorite mini game in that. But yeah, so after that was Xbox 360, which introduced achievements and opened up a whole nother can of worms. And me being as OCD as I am, I instantly became a completionist. That's kind of one thing that I think I talked about with Melee James and Melee Cave, Melee Games recently, or maybe they asked him and I was just talking to myself while they were doing the podcast or whatever. But someone's asked him about like achievements, and one of them was saying that that's basically how I've always been. It's just there was never achievements to track it. And that was basically me too. I'd basically complete games 100%. There just was no achievements to show it off or anything. So once achievements were invented, you could actually have something to show for it. So then I could show you, I have completed these games on this difficulty or whatever. So, oh, wow, I just filtered my Xbox library. Oh, you know what? These are not all games that I've played because it's like 357. I'm like, I have not played 357 Xbox 360 games. That's just all the ones I have access to with games with gold and Game Pass and stuff. A lot of those are not ones that I'll ever actually play. Filtered it by games I've actually played, 244 games. So like starting off with my favorite video game franchise of all time, Mass Effect. 1, 2, and 3. I could talk about each one of those hours on end, but Mass Effect 3 is my favorite of the trilogy and my single favorite game of all time. Ninja Gaiden 2, awesome game. I did like Ninja Gaiden Black a little bit better than Ninja Gaiden 2 because Ninja Gaiden Black was arguably a Metroidvania. It has a Metroidvania-esque map. Probably the biggest argument on why it wouldn't be considered a Metroidvania is that you don't actually unlock. There's no ability gating, so it's not like you earn new abilities that allow you to reach new areas. Basically all of the new areas you reach is just through standard progression or through like keys that unlock new doors. It's not abilities that you get. Whereas Ninja Gaiden 2 was very linear. You're going from point A to point B in this level, and then you have a cutscene, and then now you're in a new level and you're making your way through that level. So that was probably the main reason why I like Ninja Gaiden Black better than Ninja Gaiden 2, but they're both excellent, fantastic games. I talked about I think on just this last party chat, I talked about Vanquish, because one of the topics we talked about was what game do you think needs a sequel, and Vanquish is would probably be my number one pick for no. Well, there's a few others I could throw up there, but if there was like what single game that never got a sequel needs a sequel, definitely Vanquish. Other games that I kind of briefly talked about it a little bit on Party Chat, but other games that I would, argue for a sequel would be like Portal 3, because Portal is one of my favorite franchises, and they are fantastic puzzle games. And there was a planned Portal 3, but typical Valve, they had to stop at number 2. So looking through here, okay. I never completed this. I still need to go back and get the last achievement for the speed run. But one of the very first Xbox Live Arcade games, and is a fantastic puzzle platformer, and uses time as its central mechanic, is Braid. Fantastic game. I love that game. There's an achievement for beating the whole game in under 45 minutes. I've made a couple attempts at it, and I made it in under like an hour. I think one of them I made like 52 minutes. So I got pretty close, but I never actually completed that. So I need to go back and do that. But I know I've mentioned it at some point recently over one of the streams, but like Limbo came out, and everyone was like raving about Limbo. Like, did you not play Braid? Braid is infinitely better in like every regard. Limbo is still a good game. It's also a puzzle platformer, but Braid is just so much better in every regard. Great game. The Bethesda games, Fallout 3 is a great game. I think I played like 80 hours of that game in like the first 2 weeks it was out. I played the heck out of it, and I kind of burned myself out, and then didn't play it again for a long time until the DLC came out. Oblivion, Skyrim. I have Fallout 4, but that's an Xbox One game. I have it and I've started it, but I haven't played through it all. But I have played Fallout 3, Oblivion, and Skyrim, and played the heck out of those. Let's see here. The Arkham games, there are 4. The 4th one, Arkham Knight, isn't also an Xbox One game, but the first 3, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Origins, are all awesome games. A huge chunk of the Assassin's Creed games were all on Xbox 360. Black Flag is widely regarded as the best of the Assassin's Creed games. Really liked Black Flag. My favorite underrated Assassin's Creed game was Assassin's Creed Rogue. I really enjoyed that one. That was a good one. Portal 2, fantastic game. It took everything that Portal 1 did, which is basically like a glorified tech demo, and turned it up to 12, really, put a full campaign in it. Excellent co-op, where you're actually playing through a separate campaign for co-op, not just like the single player campaign with 2 people. BioShock is often referenced. It was good. I didn't think it was as great as everyone said, but definitely one of the greatest plot twist games of all time. Mirror's Edge, I did talk about this recently in, I don't remember if it was Party Chat or Open Mic, but also one of my greatest achievements on Xbox is for completing that game, because the time trials were very difficult. That was a very rewarding completion to achieve on that one. I already mentioned it. Arkham, all the Halo games, Halo 3. Of the Halo games, Halo 3 is my favorite. But I do really like ODST. I like how they it was basically completely different structure than all the other Halo games. All the other Halo games are, a semi-open world. It's basically get from point A to point B, but you can kind of go about it. I mean, there are some parts where you have to go through, you have to go one way or the other, but it's kind of open where you can kind of get there the way you want. But in ODST, it's actually a full open world, and it's cool that you're playing as the rookie, and you're tracking down your squad, and you relive their memories to figure out like what happened to them and where they went. That was really cool. How they told the story in that one. So I really liked that one. Reach was good. A lot of people say Reach is their favorite Halo. I still like Halo 3 better, but the equipment that they added in Halo 3 was pretty cool. Um, let's see here. Oh, Just Cause. So Just Cause 1 and 2 were on 360. A lot of people consider Just Cause 2 the best in the franchise. It was good. I liked 3 better, but 3 was an Xbox One game. Yeah, Halo, they re-released the Anniversary Edition on 360. Crackdown. So I bought Crackdown for the sole reason because it came with the Halo 3 beta, and I was super stoked for Halo 3. So I bought it just to get access to the beta, and I actually fell in love with that game. And I think another thing I think I've mentioned before is that I'm not a big fan of Rockstar and their games. Their open world games I find very boring, but I love these open world destruction games like Crackdown. I fell in love with it. All these crazy guns and equipment and stuff. Prototype is another game. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I loved Prototype. All these crazy powers. You're running from the military and you can do all sorts of crazy nuts stuff. So Prototype was a lot of fun. I never played Prototype 2. But Prototype was fun. And then Just Cause, the Just Cause games, open world destruction simulators, really. Though I'd much rather play those than a GTA game. So much more fun. I think I brought this up on Party Chat, but Shadow Complex was one of the first Summer of Arcade, I think is what it was called, on 360. And that is still one of my favorite Metroidvanias. I'm a big Metroidvania enthusiast. I played a lot of them, and I plan to be number one on the Xbox leaderboards at some point. I'm currently, I think, 18th or 19th in the world, so pretty high up there. But I have a long way to go. But Shadow Complex is fantastic, and I love that game. I need to do another run through of that game at some point. I mentioned Skyrim. Mark of the Ninja, that was another arcade game. That was a lot of fun. I would love to see another game in that franchise. Definitely recommend it if you like stealth games or ninja games. It's definitely excellent in both regards. Splinter Cell Conviction was not the first one after Chaos Theory, because Chaos Theory, then there was Double Agent, which was okay. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't great. It's probably one of my lesser favorites in the franchise. But then the next one was Conviction, and they kind of turned it into more of an action game, which a lot of people didn't like. I liked it, but I like both ends of the Splinter Cell spectrum. The first, the original trilogy is much more slow and methodical and stealth based, but Conviction and the most recent one, Blacklist, were much more action oriented. But I loved those games as well. It was cool. The Mark and Execute was the main thing that really sped up the gameplay. Is that different guns had different numbers that you could mark, but you could, peek around corners and stuff without being spotted. You could mark your targets and have a little chevron, this little arrow over their head, and you could see them through walls. But the cool thing is, the Mark and Execute part is you could hit a button, I think it was B, and you'll just headshot all of them. Like, it goes into this little animation that was pretty cool. It did make it pretty easy, but in order to get another one, you had to get a melee kill in order to recharge it. But the best gun in the game had 4 charges, so in co-op, if you had someone else who had that gun, you could Mark and Execute 8 people at once, and I think there was an achievement for that as well. Of course, I've never been a huge Call of Duty guy, but obviously Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 were huge on 360. Those are still widely regarded as some of the best COD games and best shooters of all time. So Vanquish is saying, speaking of open world destruction games, I would kill for Mercenaries Playground of Destruction remake. I think it was Xbox PS2 era. Was that the first one? Because I know I played Mercenaries 2, the demo, and that was on, I'm pretty sure it was Mercenaries 2. It could have been the first one. But I know I played a Mercenaries demo on the original Xbox at some point. And the thing that I played it for a couple minutes and immediately turned it off as soon as I got into a vehicle, because um, it was still in that transition period where racing games, they hadn't really started using the triggers yet. So I'd play other racing games because I played a lot of racing games as well, where the right trigger is gas and left trigger is brake. But before that, a lot of driving games, would use the buttons for your gas and brake, which, until we had triggers, it was never really an issue. But once you get used to the triggers and you go back, in this Mercenaries demo, you couldn't switch it. The driving was only on the buttons. Even though you had triggers, you couldn't use them for driving. So A was gas and X was brake, and you couldn't change it. So I immediately turned off the demo at that point. But um, so you say that the second Mercenaries was bad, but the first one's amazing. Oh, interesting. Okay. I bet you it was probably Mercenaries 2 then that I played. But the demo, I never actually played either of them. But if you could do the triggers on driving, I'm sure I'd probably enjoy those games as well. Because yeah, they're very much in the vein of Just Cause. Another, speaking of open world destruction games, we just had the announcement just come out today that Volition is shutting down immediately. And they were the studio that did all the Saints Row games, which I never played any Saints Row games, but from what I've seen, I know I would much more enjoy the Saints Row games to playing the GTA games, because I just find the GTA games just to be really boring. But given how poorly received, and for good reasons, the Saints Row remake that came out, I think it was last year, 2022. I don't think that came out this year, but I have to go back and double check. But that was terrible. But yeah, given how badly that was received, because of the developers were just ridiculously out of touch with the consumers, or they knew they knew their fan base and they didn't want to give it to them, because you can't, how dare you offend anyone in today's day and age. So we're going to play it safe, and we're not going to be edgy, and what we're known for. Same thing that there's the rumor that Rockstar is going to be doing something similar with GTA 6, is they're not going to be doing the edgy stuff that they've been known for. And if they do, or more accurately, don't do the edgy stuff they've been known for, GTA 6, it'll probably still do good, but it probably won't do as good as GTA 5 if they go that route. But yeah, Volition just shut down today after they've been around for like 30 years. Talk about another example of get woke, go broke. Oh yeah. So I was talking about earlier Ninja Gaiden. So Ninja Gaiden 3 was also on Xbox 360, but Ninja Gaiden 3 was terrible, god awful. I should have known it because it was all of a sudden out. I didn't hear one thing about it. There were no pre-release reviews. I thought it was very odd. I heard about it like the day day after it launched, it released. And I'm like, how is this coming out? And I've not even heard one word about it. So I immediately ran down and picked it up, because Ninja Gaiden is one of my favorite franchises, and it was terrible. They basically stripped out everything that made Ninja Gaiden. So I beat it and I returned the game like a couple days later. They re-released it kind of like Ninja Gaiden Black, as Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, which supposedly added a lot of the stuff, because they did release DLC for Ninja Gaiden 3, adding a lot of that stuff back, which should have been in the game from the beginning. But they re-released it as a separate game called Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, which should have all that stuff in it, which I have because it was given away as games with gold. I've played through the first couple levels of it, and it's the exact same thing as the original game. So I don't know when all this added content comes in, but I hope you don't have to beat the game to get it, because the base game by itself was terrible. So we'll see. But yeah, man, 360 games, I could go on forever. So yeah, when it comes to racing games, I played a heck of a lot of Forza 2 and Forza 3, not Forza Horizon 2 and 3. I've never played the Forza Horizon games, but I played Forza Motorsport 2 and 3 and played the heck out of those. And I had a steering wheel, which made it awesome. And one of the other things that I had on my notes it was a topic that I had on the agenda for party chat this last Saturday, but we didn't get to it. But was like best gaming moments or achievements or something like that. And um, because I had played a ton of Forza Motorsport with the steering wheel. It's a racing simulator. It was, at the time, the most realistic racing game probably ever, on par with Gran Turismo. Um, and so it actually made me a better driver in real life. And because of my skills in Forza, there were a number of times where I would have gotten in a car accident if I didn't have the skills that I did in the Forza games, because I knew exactly how to respond or what to do, and I prevented myself from getting in an accident in multiple occasions. So, if you're learning to drive or want to be a better driver, play a simulation racing game with the steering wheel, and it'll probably make you a better driver. Bayonetta was an awesome Platinum Games was also the ones who did Vanquish. They did Bayonetta. They're a pretty good studio. The Bayonetta game, I've only played the first one because the Bayonetta 2 and 3 became Nintendo exclusive, so I haven't played them. But the Bayonetta 1 was great. And how could I forget? The Rock Band games on 360 were fantastic. I played the heck out of them. Got the 100% completion in Rock Band 2. The only achievement I'm missing in Rock Band 1 is for completing the drum career on Expert. And I think the only song that I could never complete on Expert was Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden, because it is like one of the highest beats per minute song in the game. And then there's still a bunch I still have to do in Rock Band 3 because they added additional instruments like the real ones or equivalent, and you have to have the actual peripherals to get those achievements, and I don't think I'll ever get those. But yeah, loved Rock Band. X-Men Origins Wolverine right there. I already mentioned that. I also brought this up on Party Chat on Saturday. A game that I really liked, and people considered it to be really difficult, but coming from being a fan of Ninja Gaiden, it was way easier than Ninja Gaiden, but is an often forgotten game from Software, was Ninja Blade. That was a really cool game. And but if you don't like QTEs, I would not recommend playing it because it's chock full of QTEs, but they are some of the most ridiculous over-the-top QTEs in any game I've ever seen. They are nuts, and they're awesome. So, Vanquish, you got some similar, so many fun memories playing Rock Band, so many drunk nights playing with friends and family. Yeah. Rock Band was great. I was talking to, I think it was Melee, James and Kay, and we're talking about, it wouldn't be the same, but you can play Rock Band. I think you can play all three Rock Bands over Xbox Live. So we're talking about maybe doing a Rock Band night at some point, because lots of fun time playing those. So here's something that I started to get into, I think, on my first open mic. Because the 360 launch lineup, probably the game that was expected to do the best was Perfect Dark Zero, which was a disappointment compared to the original Perfect Dark, but I think it was still a fun game, and it was okay. A lot of people panned it and said it was terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I just don't think it was as good as the original, but it was still decent and worth playing if you like the franchise. But what game? I'd have to go back and look, but I think the game that actually sold the best in the launch window on the Xbox 360 was Project Gotham Racing 3. I played Project Gotham Racing 3 and got the completion. I have Project Gotham Racing 4 as well. There's still like 2 or 3 achievements left that I need to get in it, which I don't think I'll ever get because they're really difficult. But PGR3 is also one of my proudest completions because one, it's got multiple very difficult achievements. One of them is the Platinum Champion achievement for completing every race in the game on Platinum difficulty, which is very difficult, which I never thought I was going to ever going to achieve. But once I discovered how good the Ferrari, one of my favorite cars at the time was the Ferrari Enzo, but the Ferrari Enzo was a Class B car because you can't tune any cars or anything in PGR3. It's just you pick the car that you want, and each car is in a different class, and you only race against other cars in that class. Um, but the Enzo is a Class B car, and the top tier class in PGR3 was Class A. And, and so I didn't realize it for a long time that you can pick whichever class you want, and you'll only race against cars in that class. So I figured, if I want the best chance of winning, I want to be in the highest class car. So I was just racing an A class, and my favorite car, probably one of my favorite cars since I was a kid, was in the Class A, and so I was using that car a lot. Was the McLaren F1. Love that car since I was a kid. So as soon as I unlocked it, I was using that car nonstop. But it's one of the best A-class cars, but there are a few cars that are better than it, but they're much more difficult to control. So each car has basically set stats. And, um, if you want to use those other cars that are better in the same class, you just got to get better with that car. Like the best car in the game was the Ferrari F50 GT, but it was really difficult to handle. And so I didn't realize you could, go down to a different class and race cars of that class. And the Ferrari Enzo was Class B. But at one point, I gave the Ferrari Enzo a shot, and it is by far and away the best Class B car there was. And so it made getting platinums a lot easier. Because it was just so much better than all the other Class B cars. It was still difficult to get all the platinums, but that was like the turning point that made me think, maybe I can get all the platinums in this game. The other thing that makes that one of my proudest completions is the tournament champion achievement, because I haven't seen the new Gran Turismo movie that just came out, but it sounds like it was very much like how the qualifying in that worked for the Gran Turismo game, because I listened to a podcast where they actually interviewed the guy that the movie was about, and he said that these qualifiers would run for like 6 months, and all the people in the world could compete for it, and at the end of the time, like the top 20 people or whatever, the top 20 times would be the ones that they would pick to move on to the next round. It was kind of like that, but it was on a weekly thing. So in PGR3, they would have a set track and a set car. So everyone's using the same car on the same track. And at the end of each week, the top 64 times would get picked to go into round 2. And if you got picked to go into round 2, or, you made that cutoff, you would get the tournament qualifier achievement. And so I was trying for that achievement for a long time, and I finally made it. And then when I made it into the tournament, I actually made it to the semifinals before I actually got eliminated. So I did really good, but that was I'm pretty sure that was my last achievement to get in the game. Unless the DLC, because they had a title update, or a free DLC at the time, because title updates didn't exist, where they released new achievements and new multiplayer game modes, which were a lot of fun. But I don't remember if that was before or after I got the achievement. But yeah, getting that tournament qualifier was a awesome achievement to get. Oh yeah, one of the last things I was going to say about one thing that's great about Project Gotham Racing franchise is that if you were to put like racing games on a scale where you got like super arcadey games like Need for Speed at one end, and you got your simulation games that are super realistic at the other end of the spectrum, like Forza or Gran Turismo, PGR3 was like right in the middle, where it's not too realistic, but it's also not too arcadey and fake. Although I think on True Achievements it has the simulation racing genre tag. I probably wouldn't qualify it as that, but it's definitely more realistic than something like Need for Speed. But yeah, I love that. Like, it was just in the perfect middle ground between the two opposite ends of the racing spectrum. Yeah, a bunch of this other stuff I played early on is not great. Oh, actually, there's one. I think this will probably be the last one I talk about on the 360 end of the spectrum. The original Prey. That was a really cool game. Oh, Vanquish, before I get onto that. Dynasty Gran Turismo movie. I entered the competition but never got past the first stage. Yeah, it's killer trying to make it into, the top elite tier of racers in the world. That'd be impressive to make it. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about the movie, and I'm not going to see it in theater, but I'll probably watch it at some point once it's on home release. But yeah, probably the last 360 game I'll talk about that I really liked, and I only rented it, so I didn't own it, but was the original Prey. That was a really cool game, and it was very mind bendy, puzzly, kind of like Portal. But it was a first person shooter. You had all these guns, all these different types of guns. But there's things that you walk along the wall, and so you might be up on the ceiling and you'll be shooting at enemies that are above you, but they're on the ground and you're on the ceiling and you're looking up, which is technically down. There's parts where you're like going through like little wormholes where you're a full-size person and you go through this little like arch, and now you're on this little rock that's inside of this case in this room that you were just in, and now you're this big and you see someone who's the same size as you were, but they look like a giant. So it did all this crazy stuff with physics and stuff. It was really cool. But yeah, Portal before Portal. So when they announced a Prey 2, the original Prey 2, I was really excited about it. But then when I actually saw it, I was kind of disappointed because it looks like they were getting rid of all of that mind-bendy, physics-defying stuff in favor of being a you're playing like this mercenary on the space station, which it still looked like a cool game, but it didn't seem like a Prey game. But then that game got scrapped, and then they finally came out in 2017 with what we know as Prey now, which should be called Prey 2, where has really nothing to do with the same franchise. I don't even know why they gave it the same name, but you're like on this space station where you're reliving a simulation or something. And there's these like little black pieces of goo, and you have this glue gun that you freeze them and then break them, kind of like in BioShock with your wrench. I haven't played it yet. It is on my to-do list, and I've heard it's an excellent game. But it really, all three of those versions of Prey really have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So I don't know why they didn't just give them different names. But that original Prey was really cool. So yeah. That's 360. That's my own. That was just talking about 360, and this might take even longer to get through Xbox One games because I have played more Xbox One games than any other console in history. So maybe I'll just order them by. Let's see here, because I just went through 244 games on 360, and my played game list on Xbox One is 425. So nearly double. Let's order them by my rating. Do I even have that? My rating. There we go. Add the my rating filter, and then organize by my ratings, and we'll kind of work my way down. So, okay, yeah. So Shadow Complex Remastered, but I already talked about Shadow Complex. Another Metroidvania that was really cool and really underrated. I don't think even a lot of people even know about it. It's called Strider. You could say it's 2.5D, but it takes place in a two-dimensional plane, but it has really good graphics. It's really pretty, and you play as this like cyber ninja. That was really cool. So I beat and it has a Xbox One version, which is basically the remaster because the original was a 360 game. I've got the 360 game, but I haven't played it yet because it's not backwards compatible. So I actually have to play it on my 360, which is a bit of a hassle. But I am looking forward to playing through that game again at some point. Destiny, I've talked about a lot because that's my most played game of all time. I love the original Destiny. Never played Destiny 2. But I'm one achievement short of completing Destiny. I just got to beat the last raid on the heroic difficulty, so I need to get a group together to do that. Master Chief Collection, obviously I talked about that earlier. Fantastic. It didn't launch in a great state. Took a couple years to get there, but definitely a recommendation now. Excellent game and has lots of games within it. Shadow Complex Remastered, excellent. Love that one. My favorite Metroidvanias. Doom 2016 was actually the first Doom game I ever played. And I didn't buy it. It was, I bought a secondhand Xbox One X because I didn't get the Xbox One at launch. I probably got like a year or so later. but my Xbox One died, and it was like a couple months after the Xbox One X was released. And so I was looking for one secondhand, and I ended up getting it and two controllers and like 20 or 30 games from someone on Facebook Marketplace for $500, which is the price for a 1X new by itself with just the console and one controller. So I got a 1X basically brand new with two controllers and all those games for the same price. And Doom 2016 was one of them. And then after that, I went back and played the original Doom games because I got them all on. They were all on sale at one point. And I got Doom 1, 2, and 3 for like $6 on Xbox. So I don't have the nostalgia for them, but I have played them, but I haven't completed them because they are pretty difficult to get all the achievements in. The Arkham Asylum remaster, Skyrim remaster, excellent games. Mark of the Ninja remastered. So here's a great game that I consider like a the top tier games like Halo and Gears of War and Call of Duty are considered like AAA games. There's a couple games that I played that I call like I don't know if they're actually qualify as this, but I call them AA games, where they look really nice and pretty like AAA games, but it's on a much smaller budget. A Plague Tale: Innocence was a great game where you're. It's the funny because usually escort missions are often regarded as one of the worst parts of video games, but this whole game is basically an escort mission because you play Amicia in medieval France, or it's like 1400s France during the plague essentially, and you're escorting your little brother Hugo, and you're like 12 or 14 or something. He's like 8, so he's like this really little kid, and you're escorting him basically the entire game. But it was a really good game. It was on Game Pass. It's not anymore. The sequel, Plague Tale Requiem, is on Game Pass. I have not played it yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing it at some point. But I would definitely recommend Plague Tale. It was a good game. And then there's another game I always talk about when I talk about this one, because it was also a AA game in my opinion that was really good. Shoot, I can't think of what it is off the top of my head now, even though I talk about the two in conjunction with each other just had to scroll down a little bit. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice was also like a AA game, a really good looking game, but on a smaller budget. Definitely recommend that. It's all about Norse mythology, and you play as Senua, and she's basically trying to travel into the underworld to save the soul of her lover, her boyfriend or husband or something like that. He was killed in battle or something, so you're trying to travel into the underworld to save his soul or something like that, kind of like Hercules. It was a pretty dark game, but it was a really good game. And I think I talked about it when Alex was on Party Chat episode 1. If you ever do play that game, play it with headphones, because that is the sound design in that game is fantastic. And if you're not playing with headphones, you're probably going to miss a lot of it, because a lot of the narrative of the game is basically her descent into madness, and she's going, or might think that she's going crazy because she's hearing voices. And when you play with headphones on, you can actually hear all those voices whispering in your ear the whole game, and it's really awesome. Fallen Order, the best thing to come out of Disney Star Wars, in my opinion. I haven't played Jedi Survivor yet. I will at some point, but not until I can play it without having to give Disney any money. Doom Eternal, fantastic, awesome game. My favorite game in the Doom franchise. I love it. I know. I think Melee James and I got in a little bit about this on open mic when they were on, but he thinks it's a good game. It's just not a good Doom game, which I could see where he's coming from. But I love that game, and I hope that we get a Doom Eternal sequel. I don't know if we ever will, but that is a fantastic game. I want to learn to mod, because I want to take the building blocks of Doom Eternal and rearrange them into my own game and build my own game out of it. I don't want to give anything more than that because it's something I really want to do, because I think the game that I would build out of it could be one of the greatest games ever. So I don't want to give too much away, but at some point I do, if it's possible, I want to rebuild that game into a different game with the building blocks of Doom Eternal. And then Ori and the Will of the Wisps, my favorite Metroidvania of all time. Excellent, fantastic, top tier, amazing game. I could gush over it for hours. If you haven't played it, if you like Metroidvanias at all, go and play it. A lot of people, whenever you talk about Metroidvanias, it often comes up. Hollow Knight is the best. I haven't played a lot of Hollow Knight. I probably played about 6 hours of it because I just cannot get into it. I will go through it and probably complete it at some point. It's just, it does not draw me in, and I have really no desire to keep playing it. Just the fact that I'm a completionist and I want to get to the top of the Metroidvania boards, I will play it, but I'm not really looking forward to it. But both Ori games hooked me within minutes, which Hollow Knight hasn't been able to do in 6 hours. So I think Ori is drastically better than Hollow Knight. Oh, and Vanquish says, an amazing, fun AA game is Evil West. Okay, I've heard about that game, and I have seen some clips of it, and it does look very interesting. I don't know if I'll ever actually play it, but it did definitely look interesting to me, and I could see myself playing it at some point. Let's see here. Some more Metroidvanias. Carrion was pretty cool because you're basically playing this. It's a 2D pixel art Metroidvania where you play as like this tentacle monster that escapes from the science lab, and you're going around eating scientists and getting bigger and gaining new abilities, and you have to escape the underground complex to get to your freedom. Superland is cool because it's one of the very few first-person Metroidvanias we've gotten, because basically the only ones we really have are the Metroid Prime trilogy, and the Metroid Prime 3, I want to say, came out in 2012, and since then we've had basically zero first-person Metroidvanias. So Superland is a first-person Metroidvania puzzle platforming game and was really good. I really like that game. I'm looking forward to playing it again on the Windows version. And Superland, it's not called Superland 2, but it's called Superland 6 Inches Under, came out recently, and it is on Game Pass. I'm looking forward to playing that one as well. Although I have some people in my Metroidvania community have played it and said that the first one's a little bit better, but definitely recommend it. And if anyone from my Metroidvania or my Achievement Hunting 101 group is happen to be listening to me right now, Superland 6 Inches Under is the September Vainer of the month, the Metroidvania of the month. So I probably talked about it on nearly every stream, but Subnautica is probably one of my favorite games in the last 10 years. I played the heck out of it. I love that game. And basically, I can't start the game and then not play through the whole thing. So it's dangerous to start a new playthrough and be like, oh, I'll just play it here and there. It's like, oh, no, now I just spent another 30 hours in the game beating it again before I go and play another game. So I can't say enough good things about Subnautica. The sequel, Below Zero, is good. I would recommend it, but most people, and myself included, think that the first one was better. And I heard that they are working on a Subnautica 3. I'm very much looking forward to that at some point. And I hope that it is better than Below Zero. Not that it was bad, just that it wasn't as good as the original. Control by Remedy. I've never played the Alan Wake games. It's like those are more of like horror games. I know they're not quite, but they are close enough to it. It looks a lot like Resident Evil 4, which I was not a huge fan of. I've never played the Alan Wake games, but some of the other games that Remedy's done, I've really enjoyed. Control was awesome. I played the Xbox One version, and I have the Ultimate Edition, which is the Series X version. So I completed the Xbox One version, and I'm going to be playing the Ultimate the Control Ultimate Edition at some point, and I'm looking forward to playing through that game again because that was a really cool game with a lot of cool powers. Arguably a Metroidvania, but it doesn't have the Metroidvania genre tag on True Achievements, but it definitely could be considered a 3D Metroidvania. It's just not a first-person shooter, but awesome game. Looking forward to playing through it again at some point. One of the other few first-person Metroidvanias that I really like, and I played the original, but I haven't played the Series X version, but I'm looking forward to playing through it again, is probably one that not a lot of people have heard of, but Journey to the Savage Planet is a great game. It's first person, probably the closest thing we've ever gotten to Metroid Prime since Metroid Prime came out. But it's got a lot of dialogue in it and a lot of humor. It's a pretty funny game as well. And there is an achievement for, they released a title update for Old Game Minus, which basically gives you have to beat the game with, you start out with 3 lives, and there are 3 additional lives hidden throughout the game, so you can get up to 6 lives. But if you lose all your lives, you have to start the game over again, where the basic game is, if you die, just reload your last checkpoint. So that's called Old Game Minus, and there's an achievement for beating it in solo and in co-op. And I've Sherpa'd a number of people through that achievement on co-op just because I love that game so much. So I'm looking forward to playing through it again on the remaster, which or not remaster, because you can't really tell much of a difference, but I think it does run at 60 rather than 30 FPS. The Employee of the Month edition is what it's called. So I'm looking forward to playing through that again as well. Guacamelee, another Metroidvania. I liked Guacamelee 1 a little bit better than Guacamelee 2. Both great games, but 2D, very cartoony Metroidvania where you play as a luchador who, when he puts his mask on, he gets these powers. Definitely a recommended Metroidvania. I talked about Crackdown earlier. I love Crackdown. Crackdown 3 I liked a lot, despite getting a lot of hate because it didn't live up to what people were expecting. Mega Man X Legacy Collection is, Mega Man X 1 through 8. I did a whole stream on Mega Man. That was my first stream on my channel here. But Mega Man X's 1, 2, and 3 are my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time, and Mega Man X3 is my favorite Mega Man game. Why did Subnautica 4.5? I'm bumping that up to a 5. I don't know why I had that at a 4.5 because that's one of my favorite games ever. Another 2D Metroidvania, pixel art, but this one is sort of a movie video game. It was more like based off the movie, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie. But The Mummy Demastered, excellent 2D side-scrolling pixel art Metroidvania, awesome game. Really loved it. Has really good music too, and is way better than it was better than it had any right to be. That's what I was trying to say. What's up, Whiskey Jack? Dropping in and saying hello. Good. I think it's probably morning for you because it's almost midnight for me here in California. I think you're somewhere in Europe or something. So good morning. Thanks for dropping in. I could say that I think I'm getting close to wrapping it up here tonight, but who knows? It could go for another while longer. Just what I think I'm getting close to the end of some of my favorite Xbox One games, and then there's very few games that have been Series X only, or Series S and X, because pretty much any game you can play on an Xbox One, you can play on a Series, except for ones that have unique peripherals like Rock Band. Okay, yep, I was right. He's in the UK, so it's 7:20 in the morning. Well, good morning. I'm about to go to bed as soon as we're done here. So looking through, here's a bunch of remasters of games that I've already talked about, a bunch of Assassin's Creed games. Rime, R-I-M-E, that was a really interesting game, really pretty art style. Was a puzzle game. Really enjoyed that. It would be cool to see a sequel, but I really doubt there'll ever be a sequel to that. You play this little kid who wakes up on like this more like, I wouldn't say tropical island, and more looks like you're like Mediterranean island. It's got a really pretty art style, and it's a puzzle, 3D puzzle game, and that was really cool. Oh, here's one I didn't mention yet. the Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games were awesome. I liked Shadow of Mordor, the first one, better than Shadow of War. I completed it twice, both the base game with the DLC and the Game of the Year edition, which is the exact same thing, just with all of the DLC included, because I like that game so much. I still have to go back and finish Shadow of War. I've completed the story and I've completed all the DLC, but at the end of the game, the Act 3 is the Shadow Wars, which are just long and tedious. So I dropped out at that point. So I need to go back and finish that up to get the completion in the game. But those were great. I know Shadow of War had a bad reputation for microtransaction exploitation, but I didn't play it until after they remedied that, and they actually removed microtransactions from the game entirely. So that's probably why I enjoyed it a lot better. And yes, I have played Super Meat Boy. I have it. Very difficult platformer. I plan to go. I never completed it, much less beat the game, but I do plan to go back at some point and at least beat the game, finish all the levels. I might go for the completion in that one, but I don't know because it's so difficult and rage-inducing. When it comes to very precision platformers like Meat Boy, my favorite was the original was just called N, and it was a flash game on the PC, and I played the heck out of that. And it had the level select was basically 10 rows, and each row had 10 blocks in it, and each block represented 5 levels. So there was like 500 levels in the game, and I beat that a couple times over because like it was before cloud saves and stuff. So I'd go on a different computer and I wouldn't have my saves, or my save got deleted, so I had to start it over again. Then the sequel they released on Xbox 360, which was N Plus, and I should have mentioned that when I was on my 360 games because I loved that game. I played the heck out of it, and I was top 50 in the world on the global leaderboards for N Plus for a really long time, until people figured out how to cheat and break the leaderboards, and all the people at the top of the leaderboard all have 99999999999 because they broke the leaderboard so they could cheat. But before that happened, I was in the top 50 on the N Plus leaderboards for a really long time. But yeah, Shadow of Mordor, awesome game. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I loved it. And yeah, it couldn't beat Meat Boy. It is very difficult. But probably one of the coolest things about Meat Boy is when you finally do beat the level, you see all of your attempts all taking place at the same time. So you see like hundreds or thousands, depending on how many times you died, in the your past copies going through the level all at once, which was really cool. I already Just Cause 3, my favorite of the Just Cause games, and I love the heck out of that game. Anything else? The Wolfenstein games, Wolfenstein New Order, and let's see, what was the other one? Old Blood was the prequel to it. Then there was Wolfenstein 2, which was incredibly difficult, which I haven't played yet. I don't know if I will, but I did play Old Blood and New Order, and I really like those. That was the first and only Wolfenstein game that I've ever played. But I really liked those, and then went off the deep end with Wolfenstein Youngbloods. That was a pretty terrible game. Never played it because the sisters, I think they're the BJ Blazkowicz main character of the games. I think they're his twin daughters, and they're really obnoxious and annoying. So I had zero interest in ever playing that one. But the Old Blood and New Order were really good, and I'm pretty sure Wolfenstein 2, I forget what it's called, was a good game too, but I never played that one. Titanfall 2, excellent campaign. I had never really played the multiplayer, but the campaign was fantastic, and there's stuff in that game that have given me ideas for building my own new games, full games from scratch, based on ideas that I got from that game. Because I don't know if this will ever happen, but I would ideally love to start a video game studio because I've got lots of ideas for what I think would be awesome games, but I don't have the talent and know how to program games. I've got very basic programming knowledge, but I would love to start a studio at some point. or at least be like the idea guy. And I've gotten some ideas for some really awesome games from Titanfall 2. Blasphemous 2 just came out, I think this week or last week, very recently. Blasphemous is also a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania, Souls-like. Pretty difficult, but it took me a while because I played it on Mark the Cyborg's recommendation. He made a video about it years ago, and I bought it when it was on sale and started it, but I wasn't feeling it, and didn't come back to it for 2 or 3 years. And then when I finally actually got into the game, I actually really enjoyed it. I completed that earlier this year. I finished getting all the achievements in it earlier this year. So what I'm looking at right now is on True Achievements. You can go and look at this yourself if you wanted to on my True Achievements page, which basically on all my social pages, like on my YouTube channel, you can go to it's basically my link tree, but it's called Card. I think it's CARRD. And it's got the links to all my different pages, and one of them is True Achievements. So you go click on True Achievements, go to my profile, and you go to my game collection. Right now, I'm filtering all the games I played by platform. So earlier, I was looking at 360 games. Right now, I'm looking at my list of my Xbox One games, and I have them filtered by starting at my highest rated, going down, kind of just going through some of them and talking about some of my favorites. So if you want to look at all the Xbox games I've ever played, you could go and look at all the games I've ever played, and look at all my stats and stuff, and see which ones I've completed, because I have a lot of completions. One of the ones that we talked about on Party Chat, because Mark was surprised that I was able to do this just this last Saturday. Oh yeah, I can put that down. Was Ghost Runner. I played that. I thought I played it earlier this year, but I actually did it almost a year ago. I think I completed it in October of last year. But I completed that game completely on controller. However, it was an Elite controller, so I had paddles, which makes it a lot easier than not having paddles. But it was funny because Mark the Cyborg was talking about how he was challenged Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers to complete that game with a standard controller, because he's saying controller's better than keyboard and mouse. And Mark is like, yeah, just try to beat Ghost Runner on a controller, which I did on an Elite controller though, but I completed 100%. But yeah, it would be a lot more difficult doing it on a controller that doesn't have paddles. But that was a fun game, and there's been a lot coming out recently about Ghost Runner 2, which I think is scheduled to release before the end of the year. Very soon, I believe. Let's see here. Does it say on here? Is there anything in here about Ghost Runner 2? Ghost Runner 2, leaps on the Xbox in October. So I will definitely be playing that at some point. Probably not this year, because I wait till games to go on sale and include their DLC so I can get them for a good discount, because I'm very frugal. But I will definitely be playing that at some point. And one of the cool things they added a lot of motorcycle action into the game. So I've seen some cool cutscenes. You're basically like driving down buildings and going upside down in circles and stuff on your motorcycle, which looks pretty cool. So, Messenger's been brought up a lot lately because Sea of Stars just launched in the Game Pass just yesterday or the day before, just within the last day or two, which is a prequel which takes place in the same universe as the Messenger. I played both stacks, the Xbox and Windows stack of Messenger, because it is a Metroidvania, and a lot of people consider it one of their favorite Metroidvanias. It was good. I didn't think it was great. One of the cool things about it, though, is you switch back and forth between the past, which is 8-bit, and the future, which is in 16-bit. So that's kind of a cool thing that they got going on with that game. And it similar to Mummy Demastered, it has some really good music. So I definitely would recommend it, but I didn't think it was as great as everyone said it was. But I enjoyed it, and I didn't have any problem playing through it twice. There is a lot of good comedy in the game as well, a lot of good writing. So when I heard that Sea of Stars, I only heard about Sea of Stars probably a month or so ago, was coming out. I'm like, oh, a prequel to Messenger, awesome! But then I found out it's not a Metroidvania, and it's a JRPG, and I immediately lost all interest, and I have no desire to play Sea of Stars. Because I do not like JRPGs. So I was very disappointed to find out it was not a Metroidvania. What else here is worth mentioning? I think a few minutes ago when I was talking about Control, one of the other games that Remedy did on this or on that generation was Quantum Break, which I don't think got a lot of attention. That was a pretty good game. It was pretty cool that they did a lot of cool things with time powers, being able to like freeze time in certain spots, and there's all sorts of cool like things you could do with time. That was a pretty cool game. And it was one of those like weird like failed hybrid games where it went along with a TV show that I don't remember what network it was on, but it was a TV show that went along with the game. But obviously, people are going to play the game faster than the episodes of the show play out. So the episodes of the show actually take place. You can download them and watch them in the game where they would take place. The episodes, they're like 20 minutes each. So it like doubles the file size of the game, though. So you got to have a lot of hard drive space for that if you want to do it. But you'll get the full context of the story with that, and if you don't, then you'll be missing stuff, and you'll be like, I don't understand why this is happening, because you skipped it because you didn't watch the cutscenes or the episodes of the show in between. Oh, and rest in peace, Lance Reddick. He was in that. His character in the game and show. He recently passed away. He was the voice of Zavala in Destiny, and he was the concierge in John Wick. He was a really cool dude. So rest in peace, that guy. He was lost because he was awesome. He did some great stuff. Let's see here. I can remember when it came out, you need an insane PC to play. Oh yeah, if you want to play the Quantum Break on PC, yeah, I have no idea what the requirements were, but it was a very graphically intensive game. I think, let's see here. When did I play Quantum Break? I played it in May of 2019, so that would have been on my One X. So the Series X wasn't out yet, but the One X was significantly more powerful than the original, the launch Xbox One. So I don't remember having any issues with it other than the amount of hard drive space it took up. But yeah, I can imagine it needing a beefy PC to play it. And are there any other? I'm getting kind of in the lower end of the spectrum of games here. Yeah. Looking for anything else. Oh yeah, and all the rest of this stuff is. Let me look through the stuff that I got down past my lowest rated games. Now I'm in the games that I haven't rated. So there may be stuff in here that was good. I just never rated it. So I want to take a quick look through here, see if there's anything worth mentioning. Why do I not have Bayonetta or Vanquish Remastered rated? Those are both fantastic. Give those 5s. I didn't mention. How did I miss that? The Trials games, I've always been a big fan of. I'm pretty good at them. Trials HD. Then there was Trials Evolution. I did 100% complete Trials HD. That was one of my longest completions ever. It was like 12 years from I started to the time I completed it. That was a very rewarding completion. Trials Evolution I'll never complete because that's got some insanely hard achievements. I'm really good at it, but I'm not like godlike. I'm, with the exception of the one I've been playing off and on. It's kind of the game where if I don't know what to play, I'll go and play for a little bit. Is Trials Fusion. That's the first one I've gotten to extreme tracks that I haven't been able to beat. I can usually beat extreme tracks after a couple tries. There's even some extreme tracks where I even got silver, not just bronze. So I'm good, but I'm not godlike. But I love the Trials games, and I also have Trials. Oh shoot, what's the most recent one? I just passed it, Rising. But since I probably won't really get into that one until I get through as much as I think I can complete on Trials Fusion, which I still got a ways to go. But I love the Trials games; those are fun. Anything else here worth mentioning? Yeah, I don't think so. So that brings us to an hour and a half, longer than I thought I was going to go tonight. I thought I was only going to go like 30 minutes because I'm tired. I don't know if I said it at the beginning because I'm tired. It's been a very long week at work, so this one's probably going to be a little bit shorter than the typical 2+ hours that I normally go. So, yeah, I think we'll call it a night right there then, because that pretty much wraps up Xbox One. Oh no, you know what? Last thing before we do is let me see series only games. There shouldn't be very many. Oh no, I want to see series only. Yeah, so there's only 3 games. Wait a second, that's not right. Why is there only 3? I just played one and completed it last week, and it's not on this list. I just filtered by Xbox Series games only, and there's only 3. And none of them are really anything to write home about. But there is one that's missing on here that I just recently played, which was Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch. I know that was series only. I don't know why it's not showing up on this list, though. Let me refresh it. But that would probably be the only one I'd really mention. Yeah, see, it says it's series only. Because you can't play that on an Xbox One. So that's what I was looking for, series only games. But there shouldn't be a lot of them because very few games are only playable on series and you can't play them on an Xbox One. But yeah, Fist, which is an acronym for Forged in Shadow Torch, I just recently completed last week. That was the August Metroidvania of the month. And it is a 2D Metroidvania, but you could probably consider it 2.5D. It's a very pretty looking game. It's got good graphics, not pixel art. And there's a lot of the backgrounds and stuff because you can really see into it. It takes place on a 2D plane, but it's in a 3D world, if that makes sense. That was pretty good. Enjoyed that. So maybe if I order by platform. Oh, wow. That was 52 pages. Let's see if we can shorten that down. It all started. And let's go to last page. Yeah, there they are. Yeah, there's 6. I don't know why there was only 3 originally. Serious Sam 4. Not a whole lot to say about that. I wasn't a huge fan of it. Recompile. That one was pretty cool. You're basically playing up a computer program inside of a computer. And it had the Metroidvania tag originally, but they removed it. I think it should have stayed there because it very much is basically a 3D Metroidvania. I don't know why they removed the genre tag for Metroidvania on True Achievements, but that was a pretty cool game, and it's pretty short. I would recommend it. Bright Memory, which was almost like a demo, essentially. It's not even really a full-fledged game. But there's Bright Memory and Bright Memory Infinite, which similarly is also basically a demo. But they were made by one guy, and they are really impressive looking games. When they first announced the Series X, Bright Memory was one of the games that they used to demo, or that they showed off to show you the power of the series. And there's Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, The Medium, which was a very creepy game. I wouldn't call it a scary game, but it was very creepy. And then Energy Cycle, that's a gamer score farming game. If you bought the Xbox One version, then you get the series version as well. But you could play that thing on a Game Boy, really. It's not impressive at all when it comes to graphics. So yeah, that's about it for series only games. And when I say series, I mean Series X and Series S, because they're same category of console. So, well, yeah, that if I was going to go a little longer, I'd probably touch more on some of the questions that we've talked about in party chat and kind of go into more depth on some of my answers. But I'm really tired, so I'm going to go to bed. I'm supposed to, it's being the 31st, the end of the month, I'm supposed to gather up my Metroidvania contest, the stats for the end of the month. I'm supposed to do that tonight, but I don't have the energy for it tonight, so I'll do that tomorrow or maybe this weekend. But yeah, so that'll about do it for tonight's open mic. First time I've been solo again since my very first open mic. So thank you, Whiskey Jack and Vanquish, for hanging out here with me for a little while. I ramble on about video games. There's a couple other people too, because it says that there's 4 people watching, but you're the only 2 that I've seen in chat. So if you are lurking, I appreciate you hanging out with me and listening to me talk about video games. Next things coming up on the channel is next week's open mic. Will be next Thursday. No, sorry. Normally they're on Thursday, but in order to accommodate his schedule, next week's open mic will be on Friday night at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be having Angry Canadian on, and he is in Japan. So he's like 18 hours or something ahead of me here in California. So it'll be Friday night for me. It'll be Saturday afternoon for him. Because if I was doing it at this time on Thursday, that would be in the middle of day on Friday for him. So I'll be having Angry Canadian on for open mic next week. And then let's see here. That will be September 8th for me. It'll be September 9th for him because he's so many hours ahead of me. And then on my September 9th will be the next episode of Party Chat at standard 11:30 a.m. Pacific. And I'll be having Melee K and Melee James on as my guests for Party Chat. So that's what I got coming up next. So again, I thank you guys for joining me tonight for another episode of Open Mic. That about does it tonight. So I will see you guys next time. And in the meantime, game on.